Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Maggie. This is a very angelic themed run, and this is by the fact that we have Immaculate Conception, Seraphim, and Eucharist. And of course this is yet another special curated daily, which means that in this case there are no treasure rooms. Sometimes they are, but in this case there just aren't. Sadly, this isn't really offset by the fact with the items that we have. These items aren't maybe particularly good. If you find them on a regular run, you would be quite excited to pick them up, but I would say in the average case these items are actually pretty poor. Eucharist gives you a 100% chance to get a devil deal on every single floor, not devil deal but angel deal, and what it does essentially, it makes it guaranteed that you're gonna get an angel deal. So I would reckon it's good in some cases, but there's a maybe decision to be made here. So let's say that if you find this item, you know that from that point on you're gonna get an angel deal every single room, or opposed to that devil deal, you maybe get a devil deal one every 2 floors on average. So is that a good deal? So is it a good deal to pick up Eucharist to kind of have a guaranteed chance of getting an angel deal if you could have a devil deal one on every 2 rooms? And I would say that no, it's not worth it, just because I think the devil deals are not just one time better, but I think they're like twice as better as angel deals on average are. And this is telling by the fact with which angel deals we got in this run. Of course I know that I can't really take a sample size of one and just kind of draw a conclusion out of that, but nevertheless this was a very showing run in just how bad angel deals can be, even if you get them on every single floor. But of course we didn't really have any chances to kind of take advantage of them, so maybe angel deals are good in other situations, but just getting them outright with nothing else going on for us, I think they're quite a bad deal. In a lot of cases you're gonna get spirit hearts, which aren't very good. In some cases you're gonna get eternal chests, which you can't really afford to open, and in some cases you're just gonna get white hearts, which is essentially like a health up. So I think that on average getting a devil deal is just a much better proposition. Even if you get it one in every 2 floors, is a much better proposition than just getting an angel deal every single floor, just because of how useless they are. And of course that is kind of offset by the fact if you're playing maybe a character that starts with a reroll machine, like maybe Isaac or maybe even the Lost in some cases, just because I think because when you can bomb the angel statue and get that key fragment, then you can essentially roll twice as many items to get maybe a better payout out of it. And because of course when you reroll you see 4 items in total, as opposed to maybe seeing 1 or 2 in the devil deals. Maybe in that case I would say that it's worth it, just because you have a higher chance of actually getting something substantial. And when you do get a good item from an angel deal, it's usually a very, very good item, as opposed to maybe some defensive options which exist. But still, it's very debatable, and I definitely think the angel deals always needed a buff. I think they needed an incentive to actually be played, as opposed to just going to the Mega Satan. I think one thing that they could make in dailies to kind of maybe offset this challenge to some degree is when you have a Mega Satan daily, just have a higher degree or maybe higher chance of getting angel deals, or maybe guarantee that 2 angel deals will spawn, and at which point you have to kind of get to them to get the Mega Satan key, because I think that would make quite an interesting concept to some degree. I'm not really sure if it would be effective. It sounds like a bad idea in some cases, but I also think it would provide an interesting challenge. I'm not really sure, like I said, how it would work out, just because I didn't really test it, but it just sounds like a good idea to actually include angel deals in dailies to some extent, just because in most cases they're useless. I know that they have some usability to just getting the score, because every time you beat an angel, you do get some score for beating it. It's actually quite a substantial score bonus. So in this case, this is something that I definitely should have taken a bit more of advantage of, but just because of how bad this run was, I didn't really get any DPS upgrades. I was kind of rushing my ass off to try to get to boss rush as soon as possible, and in the process, of course, I skipped a ton of rooms. I think I skipped like whole of the last floor, just because I did get the Emperor card. I teleport directly to boss rush. The only saving grace in this case was definitely champion belt, in this case the Godhead. And remember, because you get different items depending on if you enter the angel deal through the red chest or just going to buy it not naturally. If you teleported to the boss right away, you would get a different angel deal, and I would reckon that on average it would be much worse than getting Godhead. So thankfully we did get a Godhead, and this is quite good in this situation, just because we did need some offensive punch for boss rush. I think boss rush is one of those things that you really need to be quite in a comfortable spot to actually kind of get going. I think it's quite difficult to just beat with base damage. It's possible, but I feel like it always takes too much time, and it just ends up feeling you very exhausted at the end and very weak. Thankfully, at least in this case, we do finish the run at Mom, which means as soon as we're done with boss rush, we're done with the run as well. Just because I did rush, which is probably my maybe biggest mistake in this game overall, is whenever you have a short daily, I really can't focus on getting the boss rush at the same time while finding options or maybe ways to go forward. When you have a strong run, it's no problem, but when you have a weak run, it's a very hard compromise to make on maybe which rooms you should visit or maybe which rooms you shouldn't visit. And at this point, I think that I didn't see the sacrifice room on this particular floor, and that's why I decided to go to boss rush, because overall, of course, you just get more points for doing boss rush. If there was a sacrifice room, I would have opted to take that, because going to the dark room overall, I think, is more points. But maybe it's a bit of a bummer that I really couldn't make both boss rush and go do an additional floor, maybe an additional objective in this case, just because of how it turned out. And of course, because it's a daily like any other, it has a lot of variance. Some people maybe visited the right rooms, even if they did the rush, as opposed to which I didn't, and they went to a different or maybe just found different items, which allowed them to go further. One thing that I really want to point out here is that I have never seen this, and the item spawned on spikes, and that's quite a bizarre thing to me. Why did an item after beating boss rush spawn on spikes, and when you pick up the item up, you actually get hit by those spikes? That just seems like a huge oversight. You know, I would imagine there's like some function that checks whether the towel is free or not, and if it is free, then spawn the item there, and if it isn't, then don't spawn it. I obviously didn't see the spikes and I walked right into them, so I did take a bit of unnecessary damage there, but nevertheless, we did finish the run in a not so comfortable 400th place. And I believe that there were a lot of cheaters in this particular daily. Like, it really depends. On some dailies there's a lot of cheaters, on some dailies there's not. And just because it was Saturday, I imagine a lot more people were playing than as opposed to any other weekday. So in this case, you can reckon that my rank is gonna be relatively higher, also because I played it quite end in the day. But still, 400 is not a good spot, and like I said before, just because it's a Mom daily, you can expect a lot of variance. Sometimes we're the ones who get lucky, and sometimes it's not us who get lucky, someone else. So we were in a relatively good spot. We did boss rush. I think we did everything that we could with what we had available, and I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.